Hey, what up, guys? So coming to you this morning, I want to do the preview on the weekend preview for June 28th and 29th. You got a card taking place on the 28th, and then you got two cards taking place on the 29th. Should be a good weekend of boxing, guys. So Friday, June 28th, the main event on ESPN. Not sure if it's ESPN or ESPN Plus yet, but got big implications here. You got the lightweight title, the IBF Lightweight Championship, that's 135 pounds. Richard Commey of Ghana, Africa. Very talented, tough fighter, been around for a few years now. He's taken on Mexican veteran Ray Beltran, former world champion. This might be the best back and forth fight of the weekend right here. You know, it really could steal the weekend. Commey is a come forward, tough, hard African fighter. I mean, this guy, he's, like I said, he took Robert Easter the distance, lost a split decision to him a few years ago. He had another split decision loss in Russia to a former world title challenger, Denis Shafikov. But since then, has been clean and undefeated. Now, he hasn't beaten very big names, but he did move himself in line to become the mandatory #1 contender for the IBF title. And Mikey Garcia, for Mikey Garcia last year, Mikey was actually going to fight him and decided to go forward with the Errol Spence fight instead, and vacated the IBF title. So then he fought for the vacant title in February against some undefeated but nobody from Russia named Isa Shanayev, and he destroyed that guy in only 2 rounds to capture his first world title. Now he's making his first defense against Beltran, who lost his world title last year. Beltran's been banging away, though, for, 6-7 years. He's been a top-end lightweight. You know, his first title shot, I believe, was 2013 against Ricky Burns when he got robbed in that fight, and they scored it a draw. He took on Terrence Crawford the following year. And really, I think he's one of only 2 fighters to go the distance with Crawford in the last 5 years. To go a full 12 rounds with him. He gave, you know, Crawford problems, but Crawford, you know, is as good as he is and outboxed him. But, yeah, Beltran's no joke. He's nobody to sleep on, even though people think he's older now and he's beatable. He didn't lose by much to Pedraza last year. Pedraza's a great boxer, and that's why Pedraza was able to beat him, but it wasn't easy. It was a good battle. Now he's facing another guy who's going to scrap with him, with Richard Commey. Personally, I think Commey's younger, and you know, it's going to get into a firefight, and I could see Commey stopping him. That's going to be my prediction, a later round stoppage for Commey. But I wouldn't be surprised if Beltran bangs away and either stopped Commey or walked away with a close decision. I think if it goes to the scorecards, it could be close. I'm not sure if Commey could dominate Beltran, because I haven't seen him really in against top-tier competition outside of Robert Easter Jr., but styles make fights, and the fact that he pushed Robert Easter's ass to the limit when Robert Easter is more of a stand-back and box type guy is why I think, you know, a lot of Richard Commey. So we'll see what happens. Going to be a good one. I'm going Commey with a late stoppage, possibly a decision. I think he'll retain his title, and the winner's supposed to face the winner of Teofimo Lopez and that Japanese contender that Lopez is facing in July. And so likely it's going to be Lopez facing the winner of this fight for the title later in the year. And if they were to win that one, the winner of this fight were to upset Lopez and keep on with the title, then they're fighting Lomachenko for the undisputed title next year. So a lot of big, you know, implications with this fight right here. A lot of big things happening, big fights for the winners. So we'll see what happens. That's Friday, June 28th on ESPN. Now let's get into the Saturday cards. We start with the Fox card, where there's 3 decent fights we're talking about. I'll get into the 2 undercard fights real quick. First up, you got Erickson Lubin. He's currently a super welterweight contender. He's a former world title challenger. If you don't remember Lubin, a couple years ago he got a shot at Jermell Charlo and got knocked out in the very first round. Now here's the thing about Lubin. That was kind of a fluke, and it really was him just getting caught with a big punch, because there was a lot of people, including myself, that picked Lubin to beat Charlo in that fight. He got caught with a great punch and couldn't recover. That happens. That's his only loss, though. and he's battled back. He's been undefeated since. His last fight, he took on Ishe Smith, veteran, who never gets knocked out, and he fucking smashed on him and knocked him out in just a few rounds. And Ishe Smith retired after the fight. This kid's young. He's hungry. I think he's still only 24 or 25 years old. Very young fighter. And he's coming. He's knocking on the door of the top 10 right now. I almost put him into the top 10. He's very close to it. And he's taking on some nobody, so he should smash on that guy. But pay attention to Erickson Lubin. Very good fighter. You should see a knockout in this one. The other co-feature, and I really hope we see this fight, is Eduardo Ramirez against Claudio Marrero. These are two featherweights, 126. Two guys that are kind of just knocking on the door to get into the top 10 also. They're right around that area. Eduardo Ramirez, you know, he's only got one loss. It was to Lee Selby for the world title a couple years ago. Claudio Marrero, he's got a couple losses. He just lost to Tug Nyambayar, but he fought really hard in that fight. And he's still a really solid contender. His losses have come to top 10 guys pretty much. So Marrero's a good, tough fighter, and this should be a good featherweight scrap right here. I'm going to go with Claudio Marrero to get the win in this one, but I think it could be a pretty entertaining featherweight scrap right here. So make sure to watch that one. Then in the main event, you got Jermall Charlo returning, defending his interim title against little-known Brandon Adams. Brandon Adams is a nobody. To me, this is going to be quick work for Charlo. I think he's going to get a quick knockout win, and we'll see if he gets put in line for the winner of Canelo and whoever he fights next, because this guy's been interim champion for well over a year now. So, you know, we'll see what the WBC decides to do, but I'm predicting Charlo to get a win quick in the first few rounds. Adams is a nobody, and yeah, that should be it on that one. And then the other card on DAZN, there's two fights worth talking about. The undercard fight that I'm going to talk about is a heavyweight showdown. Joseph Parker, former world champion of New Zealand, is taking on Alex Leapai, former world title challenger. If you guys don't know Joseph Parker, you should. This guy, he is the only guy to beat Andy Ruiz. Now, it was in New Zealand for the vacant world title a couple years back. It was a very close decision, but he handed Andy Ruiz his only loss. I think it was a majority decision victory, and he was fighting at home. He is the only guy to go 12 rounds with, to go the distance with Anthony Joshua. Joshua knocked out everybody except for Andy Ruiz and this guy, Joseph Parker. He lost his world title in that fight with Joshua. It was March of last year, so a little over a year ago. Not a bad heavyweight. He likes to box. This guy likes to brawl. He took on Dillian White last year. They went toe-to-toe in a great fight, and he lost a very close, razor-thin decision to Dillian White. He almost knocked Dillian White out in the 12th round. I mean, he is a good heavyweight. He's signed with DAZN now, and Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, and he's taking on Leapai, who's a former world title challenger. Not a great fighter, though. I think he's going to dominate Leapai and score probably a TKO win in this one, middle to later round TKO, and, stay on top. I could see it going the distance. Sometimes Parker lets the fights go the distance, and that's it for that fight. The main event on DAZN that night, the WBO middleweight title is on the line when undefeated Demetrius Andrade, the champ, takes on Maciej Sulecki. This is a big fight for both guys right here, but especially for Andrade, who's trying to get Canelo in the ring for the undisputed title fight. Canelo holds all the other middleweight belts, all three of them. Andrade holds the fourth one. He is the key. Canelo has said that he's has expressed interest in unifying all four belts against Andrade, and Andrade desperately wants to fight. It's a very easy fight to make if Andrade can get by Sulecki. I think this is his toughest opponent on paper. Outside of maybe when he fought Vanes Martirosyan back in 2013. But there's bigger implications if he wins. He could get more out of this one if he wins. Big time fight right here. Sulecki's a tough Polish fighter. His only loss is Danny Jacobs in April of last year by a decision. He's a tough ass fighter. His last fight though, he almost got finished against Gabriel Rosado. I think he was a little careless because he was dominating the fight and he wanted to look really good and he wanted to knock Rosado out. So he went after him and he got careless and he got caught. and hurt and couldn't recover. You know, he made the distance, but he had trouble recovering and making it out of the fight. Either way, Andre has a bit of power, but I think he's just going to box his way to a unanimous decision in this one. I do think he's going to try to engage Zaleski, though, and allow himself to get hit a little bit so he can gain interest from Canelo, because if he just stands back and boxes and does his thing, it's probably going to present as a boring fight, and you're probably not going to see Canelo want to fight him after that. So we'll see what happens. Should be a good fight. I think it's going to be a competitive fight, but I think Andre should be the clear winner by unanimous decision, and he'll retain his WBO belt, and we'll see what happens after that. All right, guys, that's the weekend preview for June 28th and 29th. True Boxing, been hit with the truth.